When you talk about bumping a player, it's pretty much
great courage. One that says the bump is dead, that's how you deliver it.
What is going on, YouTube universe? My name is Trent. Some of you guys might know me as Zirra from other content I throw out on YouTube, and welcome to my AFL channel, The Hip and Shoulder, where today we take a dive back into AFL Supercoach by means of looking at how I performed in round one, some might say lack of thereof performing in round one, as well as looking at the changes that I am going to make in round two and discussing some potential changes that you guys at home might make as well. But before we get started, I just want to say there is always time to get on board with my Supercoach League, as well as my tipping competition. Both of those are down in the description of this video. Follow those links, use those codes, get on board. But reflecting on round one, I am not happy with the outcome. I got 1,986 points, which equated to me finishing in the top 59%. I'm not happy. I am not happy. I am very disgruntled. I rolled the dice with some selections that some people tried steering me off of, like my Dane Zorko pick that the boys over at Supercoach Masters tried convincing me desperately to get off of as soon as I mentioned I had him. I just wanted to back in some point of difference players to hopefully bring something different into the mix, and I fell flat on my face. But the fact that we get 40 trades this year means that I can correct some of those mistakes that I've made to better my team moving forward. And that is what we're going to discuss in today's particular video. We're going to assess the team that I had heading into round one. I'm going to make my personal changes heading into round two and discuss some potential players that are either on the bubble as rookies to look at, or also turning our attention to some players that may have performed well last week that we should at least have on our radar moving forward. As you can see on screen, this is the team that I had for round one, and there is one glaring change between the team that you see on screen now and the team that I actually had in my round one reveal video, and that is the fact that Ollie Wines is no longer in this team. Because when Gibcus went down in the first game of the round against Carlton, I knew straight away the player that I wanted to bring in. I had D'Ambrosio for the longest amount of time in my preseason team, and ahead of round zero, traded him out for Zach Williams, which I'm spewing I did because obviously we have a 100 plus Supercoach point game from D'Ambrosio on the weekend. Gibcus goes down with a ruptured ACL. So I needed to make some money in order to facilitate that trade heading into round two. And I only had 19k in the bank, give or take, at that point in time. I faded Ollie Wines to bring in Jared Lyons, and I think in the end we saw Ollie Wines score 90 odd, so I only sacrificed maybe 10 points here or there, and saving all of that money meant that heading into this round I have $217,000 in the bank. So the first move I can make straight up is that Gibcus to D'Ambrosio trade, which I'm 100% locking up. Zorko, again, was a point of difference for me. Severely underperformed given in the practice game, and then in round zero, came off back-to-back 100 games. Zorko's ball use, I think, let him down in this game, as well as giving away some free kicks. Always going to lose points for inaccuracy when it comes to Supercoach. He almost turned up in fantasy, I believe, so I still think he is a relevant pick. But when you've got players like Isaac Heaney getting off the chain at the exact same price point, I've got to make a correctional trade. So I will be moving on Dane Zorko for Isaac Heaney in this particular video as well, heading into round two. Then that's where some other players come into the conversation that underperformed. We have Nick Martin score a 63, and we had Zach Fisher score a 50. And all pre-season, these are two players respectively for Essendon and North Melbourne that have been touted as playing halfback defensive roles, and we're going to be designated ball users in that position. And we come to expect, you know, from at least Nick Martin getting a lot of that ball on the wing was enough to see him in contention for some teams this year coming out of 2023, but moving to that halfback role and being the distributor kind of put his name up in marquee lights for many, including myself. Similarly with Jack Fisher, he has been touted to play that halfback role. When I brought him in for my round 1 team, correcting some round 0 selections that I had, I mentioned that you only have to look at North Melbourne historically and how their halfbacks have performed. We saw Zeeble move to a halfback flank. He performed incredibly well. We saw Sheasel debut at a halfback flank. He is still doing incredibly well. And I thought Fisher would fit into that same mold. Again, ineffectiveness with the football is what cost both Martin and Fisher this week with their scores. I'm going to hold on Nick Martin. I am going to trade Zach Fisher, so I will be using my first boost of the year, and I will be doing 3 trades in this video. I think the kind of angle I'm going to shoot here is I'm going to do it to ensure I have a healthy bank of cash generation already flowing, so then when it comes to upgrading these rookies around the ground, I can already take a couple of them straight up to primos. And when you've got basement price rookies and even mid-price rookies that are outperforming players at almost 400,000 like Zach Fisher for more than half of the price, you'd be stupid not to capitalize on those players, especially those that are on the bubble. Obviously, we had Zach Reid in defense go down with an injury as well, but my thought process behind Zach Reid is he's not going to play any games moving forward, which means he's not going to be losing any money or gaining any money. And we still have a lot of defensive rookies like Marty Hoare. Another one would be Caulfield. They've only played 1 game, so they're not on the bubble by any means yet, so we can afford to bring them in next week. If you are looking at bringing in defensive rookies, and we will touch on that real quick now because I'm going to make my trades moving forward, there are a couple that are on the bubble this particular week moving forward. So if you are a Gibcus owner and you're looking at bringing in somebody to fit into that defensive structure, whether it be on the field, whether it be on the bench, there are a couple of names to throw up. Charlie Dean is one of those for Collingwood. He plays a more lockdown key role given the fact that Murphy isn't in that lineup, but he is still scoring enough money to generate cash. I wouldn't be playing him on the ground, but having him as bench coverage and just a cash generator early could be an avenue for you. Oscar McDonald was one I was looking at originally, but he has gone down with an injury that's going to see him out for quite a long period of time, so he's one to avoid. Again, Marty Hoare played the 1 game last week, scored 60 points. I think he should be on your radar if you don't have him yet, even though that does mean you run the risk of having Howes and Marty Hoare both in your team. I think both of these players so far have proven enough to show they should stay in the best 22 for Melbourne. Toby Pink was up against it, against Toby Green. Scored 44 Supercoach, but he kept Toby Green scoreless for the game. Well, goalless at least. He scored 4 behinds. But first game against one of the best teams in the comp this year, you'd forgive him for scoring low early. I think he's still going to generate cash, maybe not as much as others, but still worth looking at. If you don't have Blake Howes yet, get him in. Don't be silly. He's a defensive lock in my eyes, at least rookie-wise. And then we've got Nick Caulfield, who played his first game this past week. He looks pretty good. Like, he only scored the 49, but he's slotting into his role, and we know Caulfield at his best is a really elite defender. It's just been a hot minute since we've seen his best because he's had injury troubles, but I think he's definitely one to consider as well. I'll be bouncing between either Caulfield or Hoare myself when I do trade Zach Reid out, but as I said, the trade that I made during the week, fading Wines to Lions, was to facilitate getting Massimo D'Ambrosio back in. And a lot of people might think I'm chasing points by doing so, but I really am not, because Massimo D'Ambrosio was in my team for the longest period of time. Unfortunately, I was an idiot and I got rid of him. But that now means I move Howes to the bench, and I've got D'Ambrosio on field. And I'm happy to have Ambrosio and Williams as my performing rookies. Have a Howe. Well, I'm going to have to play Howes this week because Williams isn't playing. But with Zach Reed there, I've got the chance to loophole Howes just in case, you know, he does outperform and gets a solid score. So I don't know how long I'll hold on to Reed for. I mean, we've got at least one more game up our sleeves for those boys that aren't on the bubble yet. And I'm not interested in bringing in a Charlie Dean straight away. I'd rather wait the extra week for a Caulfield or a Hoare. That's just me personally. Looking at the midfield group, I'm not going to trade any of them out. Jai Clark was severely underwhelming knowing what he is capable of delivering. I'm not going to trade him, but we are going to have a look here just at price point for rookies just to see if there is anybody worth considering on that bubble kind of area if you do want to bring somebody in. I think notably you've got Harvey Thomas. I don't know how long he keeps his job for at GWS. He is, as you can see there, due to increase by at least 23,000, so it's not too big of a jump, but he's still generating points for your team. So if you want to bring him in, maybe. You've got Jack Carroll, who is on the bye, so you wouldn't have to look at bringing him in until heading into round 3, but he's gone 60 plus and then he's gone 70 plus back-to-back games, and I really am considering bringing him in potentially next week just for that cash generation, especially if Clark fails to live up to expectation again. I think Clark bounces back. It was just upsetting to see him play at a lesser capacity to what we have seen in that opening practice game in the start of the year. He looked very comfortable in that game, and I rate him very highly as a rookie. So just a little bit damaging to see there. Sharp came out well in his first outing. You've got Jacob Weir, who again hasn't been setting the world on fire, but he's scoring points. He's due to make some money. I don't think it'll be that much though. Let's have a look at probably 20k, if that. Yeah, 25,000. He's going to make money. He's got to break even at negative 25, so he's going to make us some cash. I don't think there's anybody else really around that price point that you could look at that's on the bubble. If you don't have Matt Roberts, I say bring him in. His role looks well at Sydney. Windsor is one that I wish I had started, and he is on the bubble this week. He is due to make himself 34,000, so he'll be pushing 210k heading into this week, so he's already building up a bit of cash for us there. Sanders got subbed off, and I don't know why. Nick Watson, I'm glad I dodged. Zane Dursma looks like a decent one if you need a forward rookie, but you can bring him into the midfield for that mid-forward swap. And then you're getting into the 200 plus players. Colby McKercher, I'm kind of spewing I didn't start him. He looks really well in that role. He looks to be playing that halfback role that Fisher should have been playing. So I am looking at him as well. Potentially for a Jai Clark swap if Jai Clark stinks it up again and Colby McKercher does well again. I'll be happy to pull that pin because I think Colby McKercher is going to make more money infinitely. But for the time being, obviously Jai Clark stays in my team. I'm not going to trade him out when I don't need to. Briggs is another point of difference player that let me down. I was thinking of trading him out for Max Gawn this week because my pre-round 0 ruck combination was Max Gawn and Brodie Grundy. However, Kieran Briggs comes up against West Coast this week, so I'm backing him in to go 100 plus. If he fails to deliver against West Coast, one of my easiest correctional trades for the year next week will be Briggs to Gawn. Briggs would be due to drop money if he underperforms. Gawn will gain money, but I still think I'll be able to facilitate a trade thereabouts. I don't think Gawn's going to go up by too much. As I said, though, Dane Zorko out of my team, and another player that I should have probably rolled the dice with early but didn't is Isaac Heaney. There was only 9k difference between the two of them. I don't know why I just didn't start Isaac Heaney. When we look at, and I'm going to boost here because we want to look at potential forward rookies, if I may. Thank you very much. We'll just move Cadman for the time being, just to see if there's any hot commodities in the forward line that we can look at that are on the bubble for some rookie options. Obviously, again, Harvey Thomas with that mid-forward DPP. We have ourselves, as we continue to scroll through, the forward rookies are very slim picking. So if you don't already have the ones that I'm showcasing here, then I think you might be in a spot of bother. Seth Campbell's due to make 30 grand this week, and I think he stays in the lineup at Richmond. So Seth Campbell could be an option for you if you're looking for a rookie on the bubble to bring in. Harvey Gallagher looked good for the Bulldogs. Buku Kamis looked pretty good as well, considering he's playing a more defensive role. Again, I don't know how long he keeps his spot in the team, though. Same with Harvey Gallagher, because they still have players to come in down at the Doggies. Cadman looked right at home, and I'm glad I started Cadman in the end. Burgess failed to get out the gates. Wilson looks good. Sexton should already be a lock in most teams. Oliver Dempsey is one that I'm also keeping a close eye on moving forward. He's only played the one game, but I love the fact that he gets around the ground and he gets a lot of contested marks around the ground as well, which is always going to help with his score. Finlay McRae, starting as the sub this week, missed round 0. Kind of happy I did miss him. But the one trade I am doing this week, as I said, for pure cash generation, is I am going to be getting rid of Zach Fisher, and I'm going to be bringing in somebody who is guaranteed to make a solid amount of money this week, and that is Tom Berry from the Gold Coast. He is due to make just under 60k. He has a break even of -75. This is going to take him to 210k off of his first price rise, which is half of what pretty much Fisher is almost sitting at, really. This trade not only gets me a player that is averaging more, but nets me 355k in the bank. And I'm incredibly happy to bank that cash now, because that means if Nick Martin fails again to get a good score, I can already upgrade him to my first midfield target. I won't reveal who those targets are going to be, because I feel they're best kept for other videos. But then you've got other players around the ground where if Short fails to live up again, or if Hayden Young fails to live up again, I instantly have a trade where I can go up. I can already take Zach Williams to a 500k defender if I wanted to. And I do have my eyes set on some potential pods. Some of you might not agree, but I do have some left field kind of selections in my mind. Defensively, I really like the look of Nick Vlosten. He has gone 100 plus back-to-back weeks. He's going to take a lot of kick-ins, and he has shown that so far. He takes a lot of intercept grabs, both contested and uncontested. He finds a lot of the footy down there, and Richmond are going to concede a lot of the ball down in their defensive half this year. So I think Nick Vlosten is one to definitely keep an eye on if you want a point of difference back there. I'm still spewing I didn't start Matt Rowell. I had Matt Rowell over Connor Rozee for the longest period of time, but Connor Rozee, as I said, has a very soft run at home. That's why I was happy to start Dan Houston. That's why I originally had Wines. But I think these three trades make my team infinitely greater and set me up better moving forward, even though I am now going to have a forward line with no Berry, no Sexton, and no Cadman in the exact same week. I can kind of go about that differently, knowing that, you know, only 18 players are going to score that round, and next bye round is going to hurt me quite a bit, because I've just realised I've got Green, Briggs, Berry, Sexton, Cadman. But if Briggs stinks it up this week, I'm bringing in Max Gawn. So I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below what your changes are going to be this week. As I said when I started doing these videos, I am far from the most knowledgeable when it comes to Supercoach. I am no genius. I am still very new to wanting to do this type of content form. I only really had a solid year in Supercoach last year, and I'm hoping to further that this year. But it's just something I've been passionate about, and it's another avenue to share my passion of football with you guys at home. And I do appreciate the fact that when I've been reaching out to people on social media for kind of call and response with decisions, like the boys over at Supercoach Masters and my mate Ryan over at Supercoach with DR, you know, those types of channels are the channels that you want to direct your attention to. So if you haven't gotten on board and checked out those guys, definitely do so, because in my opinion, they're top tier when it comes to Supercoach content, and I can only hope moving forward that I can replicate even half of what they do, because that'll set me in good stead if I did. Did you guys like the plug? You're welcome. I'm hoping this week gives me opportunity to pounce up that leaderboard and make up some ground. We're looking at potential vice captaincies and captaincies this week. Tom Green is my obvious go-to captain against West Coast, and obviously we can loophole with Livingston being able to come in. Vice captain, I've gone with Bontempelli over the Gold Coast, but I'm highly considering Dacos over St Kilda, and I do like that move, so I am going to do that. I am going to go Dacos over St Kilda. Other options, Rosie over Richmond should score incredibly well. The same with Houston over Richmond. Heaney over Essendon could be a shout as well if you wanted to go down that route. Grundy could go big against Goldstein, so that'd be one to watch. But I'm definitely thinking if you've got Tom Green, don't be stupid, whack the captaincy on him this week. And similarly, if you've got players like Caleb Sarong coming up against North Melbourne, go ham. That's it for this week though. Heading into round 2, I'm going with 37 trades, and I'm happy to utilize a early boost if it means I can sit with this much cash in my bank. Hopefully heading into round 3, I can make some moves that push me up that ladder even quicker. Do hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Be sure to subscribe if you are new. Get on board this community while we're building it. I would appreciate it if you did. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to you this weekend if you do partake in the Supercoach. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.